All right, first of all, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Ray, and thank you, Chris. And thanks to Kentucky Forage Grassland Council for, first of all, having this Alfalfa conference. It's been extremely important to me. It's been a good educational tool, and I thank all of y'all for staying. My name is Clayton Geralds. I'm a commercial hay farmer about 25 miles north of here, so I'm right at home. We grow alfalfa orchard grass, and Timothy in two-string small square bales. We have about 1,040 acres of hay in production right now, and we'll do 150 to 160,000 bales of hay. They got me wired up here. I don't know about all this. All right, is that better? All right, good deal. Well, all that first part you didn't have to hear anyway, except me thanking Jimmy and Ray and Chris. But, okay. We do about 150, 160,000 small square bales. We handle them pretty well mechanically. We ship hay over the southeastern United States, Lexington, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, that area. We deliver about 90% of what we grow. My son has about 135 mama cows, and that's what we do with all the hay that's not good enough for horse hay. And we generally have some of that, some years more than others, but that's part of it. Jimmy asked me if I would do this about one good idea, and I volunteered, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And I give it some thought, and I'm not really sure I've ever had one good idea. So I don't know where to go with that. But with that said, I think the thing that has probably been the most positive in my operation is, and the part that I try to put a lot of emphasis on, is efficiency. We need to get over ground in a timely fashion. We need our equipment to match each other, and we need everything to work as smoothly as possible. So what I'd like to do is go over some of the things that we do to keep things as efficient as possible. And I guess if I had a good idea, that would be it. I'm not saying we started out that way, and I'm not saying we're there yet, but we're working on it. We're hoping to get as efficient as possible. So some of the things we do is we want our equipment to match each other. We cut with self-propelled cutters with 16-foot heads. So that means that we've got about 8.5 foot of hay and about a 7.5 foot gap and about 8.5 foot of hay. So our tethers will cover about 28 foot, so they'll get exactly 2 swaths out of our cutter. We're not wasting any ground, and we're being as efficient with that as possible. Now we pretty much have to tether our first cut in hay, and most of the time we'll have to tether September hay. In the summer we can get by without it a lot of times. Sometimes we can't. It just depends on the weather. So if we don't tether the hay and we're raking, our rakes will actually, and our tethers will actually handle 32 foot of hay because it's 2 16-foot heads. So our rakes cover about 30 foot, and we can take that both swaths and actually put it on ground that hasn't got any hay on it. So we're moving hay from ground that is covered up and in the shade over to ground that's been dried out. And that helps us to be pretty efficient in moving the hay from one spot to another, and the efficiency of our equipment matching each other. Now in the first cut and in thick hay, we move over and just use the rake maybe on one swath because it makes too big a windrow for our small square balers. So that's kind of some things that we do on that end of it to try to keep it as efficient as possible. Now when we get into baling and efficiency, I have learned from making mistakes that we run 7 small square balers. And if you have more than one baler per 10 acres, they, in my terminology, they trip over each other. The next thing you know, you got 4 at the end of the field, and there's no windrow to come back. And so they're coming back doing nothing, and we've got 3 more fields to do. So a lot of times we'll split them up and put 3 of them in a 30-acre field or 4 of them in a 40-acre field. And we do have some 75-plus acre fields, and we'll run all 7 of them in them kind of fields. And every now and then, just for fun, you got to have fun every now and then, especially if you're the boss. We'll throw all 7 of them in a 15-acre field and watch them just trip over each other. And that's kind of fun if it's the very end of the day. It's not much fun if it's a start and it's fixing to rain or something. And we do pick up with New Holland stack wagons. That is the most efficient way I have personally found to move hay from the field to the barn. Our furthest field to the furthest barn is about 2.5 miles, so we're not traveling a great distance, so that's efficient. The best I've ever done with a bale wagon is we had Timothy in a field that was right in the front of the barn, and I put a load in the barn every 13 minutes. I kept track of my clock every time I went out of the barn. I'd done that for eight loads in a row, and that's pretty good. We can average about a load every 20 minutes normally. And if we're traveling that 2 miles distance, we'll do one about every 30 minutes. We can consistently bale 8,000 to 9,000 bales a day and put them in the barn and be done by 9:30, 10 o'clock, which is just a few minutes after dark. We have done well over 10,000 bales in a day. That's a little bit longer day, and things have to work a little bit better on days like that. But we've done it, and we've done it more than once. And efficiency, you got to keep going with it. Now we've got the hay in the barn. We've got to get the hay out of the barn. We've got to get it in trailers. We average shipping out between 250 and 300 semi-loads a year. So we're shipping 4 or 5 loads a week in the summertime and 6 or 7 loads a week in the wintertime. It's pretty normal for us. We have kind of got our own program for loading hay. If we load it right off the bale wagon stacks, we can put 648 bales in a 53-foot van trailer, and we do that. I guess 1,000 loads in a row has been 648 bales. Our bales are consistently 35 inches long, and we can load that with our system in an hour and 10 minutes if things go wrong. So we can load a trailer pretty efficiently. We have we're always trying to find newer and better ways to suit our customers. And I'm going to back up a little ways. 35 years ago, we was stacking hay on a gooseneck trailer, about 250 to 300 loads on a trailer, and averaging blowing out about 1 tar per load. The tars wasn't good enough, or our heavy hay was too heavy. I don't know what happened, but it was a nightmare. And we went to semis and flatbeds. And then we kind of realized that it took us longer to tarp the load than it did to load the load. And I learned to hate tarps. And I refuse to tarp a load today. I'm just not going to do it. We still haul a load on a flatbed every now and then, but it's going to be on a pretty day. So we went to loading van trailers, and we started. And when we got there, it had to be unloaded, and had some problems and some issues there with timing and suiting the customers and everything. So today we're running somewhat over 30 trailers, and we do a drop-in hook situation. I can just take I say that too much. My son-in-law and my brother deliver most of the hay. I will deliver a load if I can get there and back in the same day. I'd be sure and got me a truck with no sleepers. So I've got a really good excuse that I need to be back home. So the long loads I leave to the professionals, and I do the short loads. But now we're dropping and hooking trailers. I do most of the ones to the Lexington area, and I love getting up of a morning. I started out as a dairy farmer, and last week was pretty busy with the farm machinery show and everything we got going on. So Tuesday morning, I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I delivered me a load of hay to Lexington. I was back at my farm at 6:30, and I was ready to put in a day before anybody else got there. And I can do that when we drop and hook trailers. In the summertime, that's kind of my normal routine, because I tend to not think anybody else can do something if I'm not there. And that's not true. My son is excellent at running things and probably does a better job than I do when I'm not there. But anyway, that's the way our delivering hay has progressed over the last several years. And last winter, we started getting a lot of requests for hay in a 21 bale bundle. And I'm like, I ain't doing that. You know, our bale wagons work great, our barns fit, and we're handling this hay in a really, really efficient way, and I'm just not changing. Well, we kept getting requests, and we kept getting requests, and as Dr. Lacefield has always said, you know the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rule. So I'm still got negative thoughts of a bale bearing in my fields. We try to bale our hay our alfalfa at 16 to 18% moisture, and in our barns that's not an issue whatsoever. And we have some problems with the weather not doing what it's supposed to do, and it's getting more humid, or the hay don't dry like I think it's supposed to. So what we have started doing this fall, we bought a bale bearing, and we built and designed a table that we could set them on there with a 18 bale grab that we're taking off of our bale wagon, and it will take them from their edge to flat and feed them into our bale bearing. And that was a pretty complicated maneuver, but we started in October, and we think we've got it almost where we want it, and we're able to bundle a load and load it in the semi in less than an hour. And we're getting 735 bales in a 53-foot trailer instead of 648, so we're gaining some tons. And we're charging a bit of a premium for doing that because some of the brokers think it's a lot better on their end, so we invested quite a bit of money to get this to happen. And we've only told 4 of our customers about it, and we've bundled about 30,000 bales this fall, and probably going to have to start doing more, but I don't want to get into it too quick. So I guess my one great idea is to just be as efficient as I can from start to finish. And that's pretty much where I'm at and what we're doing. And one more, I guess, a good idea or a part of efficiency, and probably some of you already know this, we run a different color twine in each one of our balers. That way, if we get a bale that's too long or too loose or too tight or too short or too anything, we got two-way communication between all the balers and the bale wagons, and we can get on the radio pretty quick and fix that problem before it turns into something major. So that's been another efficiency thing that we've done. We run stroke counters and moisture testers in all of our balers, and that helps us to keep our length consistent in that part to be more efficient. That's about all I've done, and I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you very much.